Do y'all remember how quick I used to be on these reactions? Like, I would be 1 minute after the video releases, upload, nigga. Y'all ready for this? Dirty Dan Schneider. Let's see how long this has been released. 2 minutes. I couldn't have watched it. You feel me? Hold on, let me bring y'all closer. I couldn't have watched it, my brothers. I could not have watched it. It just came out. It's 51 minutes. Let's get right into it. First of all, quick. My Snapchat is gmoney2300. My Instagram is ttf__gang. My TikTok is TTF gang. My Twitter is for beating that meat, so don't even worry about it. And my YouTube is TTF gang. Let's get right into this one, because this is going to be a long one. I don't want to pause too much, but I will give my insight on certain things. I've heard of Dan Schneider, but I haven't watched too much about it. I just knew he did weird things to Drake Bell, right? I believe he did. He's the one who did stuff with Drake Bell. But let's get right into it. We already a minute in, so I can cuss now.
Is it a coincidence?
Yes, my mouth is yellow. Eating Doritos. And we going right back to it. Let's go.
Coincidence that 3 convicted pedophiles were working at the largest children's television network during the peak of its success and popularity. What if I told
There was 3 of them? I only knew of Dan Schneider, so put down in the comments who they are, because I only knew of Dan Schneider and who, maybe y'all shouldn't tell me who they, did stuff to, but that's wild.
Told you that there was also a convicted pedophile managing the children that were often cast on the network's shows? What if I told you that many of the underage girls were forced to kiss men over the age of 18 on camera? And then what if you found out that
was that Justin Timberlake?
Multiple of these young victims grew up and were caught performing inappropriate sexual acts with children themselves, repeating the cycle of abuse. These are not rumors. These are facts. When you combine these facts with the realization that many of the jokes, physical comedy, outfits, and even random pieces...
As a kid, that 8 equals D is wild. That is wild. What? As a kid, you would never notice none of this. Like, watching all these shows, you'd be like, boy, this was funny. This was funny. Now you looking at it as an adult. They got a whole wee on this, man. Wild.
Of the set were sexual innuendos. At some point, you'd start to eliminate the possibility of this being a coincidence and start thinking this was all by design. Today, I'm going to break down exactly how a powerful network of executives separated child actors from their families, have their actors depend on them for emotional support, then abuse their power to overwork these children, rake in billions in profits, silence anyone who dared to speak out, and then bragged about it in front of the whole world. And just like most organized crime operations, they typically funnel up to one top boss, the untouchable creator of this machine.
I better stop eating these Doritos so I fuck around and get a neck like that boy. I can fat shame him. He touched kids. It's fine when I do it. I believe they say, sicko. I know I'm fat. I accept my fatness. Nigga, I do this whole reaction with my titties out. Well, I don't got no problem with being fat.
Insert Dan Schneider, the man behind the camera.
Wait, that's Dan? I did not know he was that big. I thought he was super skinny his whole time. That's wild. And this is the one, can y'all see my mouse? This is his mom is backing up Dan Schneider. This is the guy that Dan Schneider's, I don't know his name, bruh. But I know his mom is saying that Dan Schneider was a good man.
The esteemed Nickelodeon producer who created some of the most iconic children's television programs in history.
At the end of the day, I love it when the cast gets sassy with me because I get to write all the scripts with some very talented writers, but I can put them in any horrible predicament I choose.
Dan Schneider was a child actor himself, most notable for his role as Dennis on Head of the Class. During this time, he and his co-star Brian Robbins became great friends. The pair were later asked to co-host the second annual Kids' Choice Awards by a Nickelodeon Nickelodeon producer called Albie Hecht. The three men struck a friendship and frequently discussed creating a project together. By 1993, Hecht had become a high-level executive at Nickelodeon and challenged Robbins to pitch him a children's television series that their new production studio could pitch to Nickelodeon. At the time, Nickelodeon was not yet the powerhouse it would become. The network struggled to become profitable in the 80s as they were losing millions of dollars per year. One year, they were actually the lowest viewed network out of all US cable channels.
When did SpongeBob hit? Because SpongeBob gotta be the reason that Nickelodeon went dumb. I just want y'all to watch me drink that water.
These cartoons like Doug, Rugrats, and Ren and Stimpy were allowing the network to pick up higher viewership, but their live-action shows struggled. So Brian recruited Dan and they came up with a sketch comedy show like Saturday Night Live, but for children, called All That. Dan wrote in his personal blog, "We did a nationwide talent search and got very lucky. Every kid we ended up hiring for the original All That cast turned out to be fantastic. Josh Server, Kenan Thompson, Kel Mitchell, Katrina Johnson."
Oh shit, that's where they found Kenan? He had to be like, what, 8? Y'all remember Kenan and Kel from the Good Burgers? And did they have a Kenan Kel show? I wonder if they about to come out with some shit. Oh, that's crazy.
Johnson, Lori Beth Denberg, Angelique Bates, and Alyssa Reyes. Dan recalled that the show didn't test well and that the network felt like kids wouldn't like a sketch comedy show, but they took a chance on him and the show immediately became a huge success for Nickelodeon as soon as it aired.
How many of these people do we know? I know Kenan and Kel. I remember this face too. She was a little chubby, freckly girl when she got older. She got super pretty. I can say that. Hold on, let me pause. All these motherfuckers is older than me. I'm just saying back then when I was... Let me stop before I become TTF Schneider. Hold up. No, I was their age. So like back then I had crushes. Oh, let me just stop talking and continue to watch for y'all. Put that TTF Schneider in the fucking comments. I already know how y'all get them. Stop it.
Go on to have 10 seasons and become one of the most culturally significant teen Nickelodeon shows of all time. Imagine how proud the executives were of Dan's performance. They were finally getting the big break they needed, and Nickelodeon was coming closer to becoming a profitable network. The only thing that could ruin their momentum
SpongeBob was
would
there.
be some sort of scandal or reports of child abuse. And that's exactly what happened, according to Angelique Bates, who was only 12 years old when the abuse began. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor, Underdog Fantasy.
Man, I mess with you so much. What's his name? Patrick. You can keep that one to yourself.
6. I was a series regular on Nickelodeon's All That. I was only 12 years old, and that's when my nightmare began. I was physically, mentally, emotionally abused in front of the producers and cast members, and sometimes they could even hear me yelling. But nothing was done to help me until approximately 1996 when CPS was called.
Oh, they way older than me. Nigga, I was born in 95. Damn. If y'all was able to, yeah. Damn. But no, that's sad though. Especially to be done in front of people. Like it seemed like the 90s and 80s, this shit was loud. Like I hear stories about like R. Kelly and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like his music, but like it sounded like this motherfucker was doing shit in front of people. You got the Epsteins getting away with crazy stuff. Apparently P. Diddy, diddling motherfuckers at this time. Like it's just kind of wild. Like the 90s was the Freaknik was freaky, boy. The 90s sound like some sick years.
And when CPS came, I was pressured by all the adults that were set to protect me to stay silent. I did, and I have. But I can no longer stay silent, and I won't. My name is Angelique Bates, and I am an adult survivor of child abuse, and this is my story.
Angelique is the first known survivor who has spoken up against Nickelodeon's corruption.
Her eyes are beautiful. I love her eyes.
corrupt practices. And her story is extremely important because it also highlights the parents' involvement in such abuse. Angelique recalls Nickelodeon producers being upset that her mom was constantly supervising her.
They started having a bullseye for her, was that she was one of the parents that was not going to leave me unattended on set, because by law, parents are supposed to be there. So they didn't like that fact that she wouldn't leave me.
Some parents...
I never understood that, and I don't want to keep pausing. Like I said, this is a 15-minute video, and we're only 5 minutes in. But I never understood that, like, parents who let their children stay at, like, people's houses, like celebrities' houses that they didn't know. Like, I don't want to bring names into it, but I'm bringing names into it. Like, Usher was able to stay with P. Diddy. Justin Bieber was able to stay with P. Diddy. There was people who were staying with R. Kelly too. Like, I just never understood. Like, I understand y'all think because they're celebrities they're supposed to be good people, but bro, they're humans just like all of us are humans. And I never understood, like, parents just having trust in celebrities or like bigger named people. Like, oh, that's that person. He ain't gonna do nothing to my kid until it do happen, and now your kid has fucking generational trauma. She's probably gonna pass that on to her kid. Not saying like she would touch her kid, but like she has such a fear that she's like, I don't know how to really say it, like, but she has such a fear that she doesn't even want her kid to be able to enjoy life. Like, I know she'll never leave her kid with a celebrity, but still, she's like protecting that kid so much that that kid just want to. I don't know how to explain it. It probably don't even make sense. Put it out in the comments if y'all understand what I'm trying to say. Like, I be saying shit in my head, but when it come out, it don't be coming out how I hear it in my head. You feel me? Can I put on sunglasses, bro? This light is beaming my eyes down. Do y'all mind if I put on sunglasses?
Parents would leave their kids unsupervised while they worked.
Damn.
They trusted the producers and did not want to interfere with their child's opportunity to build a career for themselves. Angelique's mother was not like that, and she even recalled a time where someone made a sexual advance towards her and her mother threatened to sue the network. Unfortunately, Angelique's mother was also physically and emotionally abusive towards her, so she wasn't safe on set or at home.
The double-edged sword with my mom's beating my ass, but then she's like protecting me from Nickelodeon all at the same time. Like, she blocked all that. Like I said, the reason why they started hating her was because she was blocking me from that and because she was turning down sexual advances from it.
Angelique slowly received less and less work due to her mother's involvement and believed she was blackballed by Nickelodeon because she and her mother could not be controlled. And because no wrongdoings were ever officially reported, all that ratings continued to soar. The series propelled the careers of cast members Kenan Thompson and Kel Mitchell, who starred in the first All That spin-off, Kenan and Kel. The show originally
I knew they had their own show. I thought they did. I knew they did Good Burger, but I knew they had a show before that. Bro, like y'all young though. Y'all never got to see like the Lil Romeo show, the Jordan show. Bro, we had some good shows back then on Nickelodeon, bro. Y'all, man, y'all don't even know.
Nickelodeon for 4 seasons from 1996 to 2001 and was equally as successful as All That, winning the Favorite TV Show award at the 1998 Kids' Choice Awards. They also starred in the Nickelodeon cult classic film, Good Burger. However, with Schneider in charge, not much changed behind the scenes. Taisha Hampton, ex-wife of Kel Mitchell, spoke out on suspicious behavior she experienced on Nickelodeon sets. Taisha was married to Mitchell from 1999 to 2005, but they originally met on the set of Good Burger where she was casted as an extra. She too backs up the claims that parents were not around.
And these parents, like Kel's parents, were not with him. All these parents of the kids on the show, their parents were not with him.
Separate the children from the parents. That seems to be a theme with Nickelodeon. There are 2 main reasons why they likely did this. Firstly, it seems like Nickelodeon was trying to take advantage of loose child labor laws in Florida, where the shows were filmed. According to the 1998 Florida Child Labor Code, minors aged 15 and under could work 40 hours per week as long as it was during a holiday or summer vacation. 16 and 17-year-olds who graduated from high school or had their GED did not have to abide by any work hour restrictions. A school superintendent could also issue a waiver of hours, and there is no law that specifically states a parent must supervise their kid while their child is working. However, regardless of what the code says, child labor experts say the laws were rarely enforced or penalized when there was a violation. In 1992, Jeffrey Newman of the National Child Labor Committee said that child labor today is at a point where violations are greater than at any point during the 1930s. One report found that the average business could expect to be inspected once every 50 years or so. Inspectors spend only about 5% of their time looking into child labor problems. Businesses across the entire nation...
Well, shit, y'all know how to make y'all money. Just don't do nothing freaky with them. Just get you some kids. Oh, no, that was about to sound weird coming out, you know what I'm saying? But, damn, they said they don't even give a fuck about kids. They said they're not even for the look into the... Them little motherfuckers need to be working anyways. But little do they know, look at Nickelodeon. These folks is different.
And were taking advantage of loose child labor laws in the 90s. Do you think Nickelodeon was any different? Children are more susceptible to exploitation and abuse in the workplace due to their vulnerability and lack of bargaining power. Think of how easy it would be for a TV producer to torment and gaslight a young actor if they weren't getting their lines right or performing to the producer's standards. But if their parents were there on set witnessing their child get scolded, they might cause a fuss. Producers want as little friction as possible, so it's not crazy to think that they probably cast talent with parents who stay out of their way. But once they do get the parents out of the way, what do they do with the kids?
Because we would get into clubs and we were young, like 16, 17 years old, and we'd be in clubs. And the people on the set in Florida made us fake IDs. And so then I started thinking, I was like, wait, what? And then they were talking about orgies, and they were talking about, like, people on the set would show, like, pornos, and they'd give us alcohol.
Those were kids, like young kids on that set.
Yeah, these were grown 30-year-old men and women.
Okay. Oh, that's wild though. Motherfuckers were showing little kids porn, and it was really like, I don't even know how to even. So like they were showing them that to like see how they reacted, or like just try to, I don't know. I'm kind of confused about that. Why were they showing them or trying to get them to grow up quicker so they can... let's not make assumptions. Let's see what she got to say.
Showing this to the kids.
16, 17, 15, 14-year-old kids. But another one of the cast members was like cleaning Dan Schneider's car with a bikini on. Now, this time, she had been 15, 16 years old. There were other times they would have, like, parties where the parents wouldn't be there, and they'd give us alcohol. And another one of the people on the cast was giving blowjobs to the producers.
Wow.
What's their name? Like, we need, like, I don't want to say what she's saying ain't true, but, like, I feel like if you know this, or she was a kid too, never mind. I was going to say, if you knew this and you were around then, you're just as guilty as them. But I get it now because she was their same age because she was married to Kale. So she was an adult because she was married to him, but she was still a kid in the same way. Like she was probably 18, 19. But I'm thinking like she was an adult then too. So I was like, yeah, if you seen and you were watching little kids give out blowjobs to these adults, you should have said something too. But she was a kid too, so I kind of get it.
One of the kids.
And they were kids.
Tracy Brown, whose son Brian Hearn was cast on All That for season 7,
I remember him.
tells a similar story from a mother's perspective.
He was in Hardball too. He was definitely in Hardball too. Not two, but like Hardball, like he was in the movie Hardball, I believe.
Hearn was cast on All That for season 7 and 8, tells a similar story from a mother's perspective.
Because there are many times on that set where they're like, hey, we want to invite Brian to a party. And I'm like, hey, just Brian? And they go, yes. And I'm like, no. And they don't like moms that take control of their child. But I had heard things. So guess what? You don't need to like me. And they were like, well, bye-bye. And I was like, let's go. I was not going to do anything for the money. Like, y'all need to understand, I'm that woman. I'm not going to do anything that might compromise my son, not even for the income.
But many...
That's a good mom, though. Like I was just saying earlier, like, man, some of these people leave their kids with certain people just for the money. Like, I don't give a damn what happened to my kid. My kid could be molested. My kid could be, SA'd. And I don't even give a fuck because I know I'm about to get a little $10,000 and I'm about to, I've been wanting this car or man, she said, fuck that and fuck the money. We not worried about none of that bullshit. My son's straight, I'm straight. We gonna thug it out however we thug it out, but we not doing that. We not letting, what?
Even suspect that the producer's perversion may have been scripted into the shows, starting with Kyra on Kenan and Kel, who was just 12 years old but was always trying to flirt and make sexual advances on the much older Kel. She would refer to him as her boyfriend despite him being obviously uninterested because she is a child. At the same time that Kenan and Kel were huge stars, one All That cast member emerged and became the most iconic Nickelodeon star of all time, Amanda Bynes. At just 10 years old, Amanda stood out amongst her peers and showcased her comedic talents through various characters and sketches. As a preteen, she was maturely confident and comfortable on screen. According to Leon Frierson, who was cast on All That since season 1, Schneider showed clear favoritism for Bynes. We had to go to school on set. There would be times when Amanda would just be missing, he recalled in the docuseries. A lot of times we would hear she would be with Dan, pitching ideas and writing. We see them grow closer to each other on set. He continued, Amanda Bynes' parents were very hands-on in her career, specifically her dad. His presence was always felt. A big part of that was his relationship with Dan Schneider. Like we said before, hands-on parents were not wanted on Nickelodeon's set. That is, unless they are bending to the...
Or unless they white. All the black mamas are saying they wasn't allowed, but this white daddy get to come up in here. Dan Schneider, huh? More like Dan Hitler. No, I'm just kidding out. But it's a little weird though. A little weird. You like kids and you racist? Something ain't adding up here, Daniel.
Interests of Dan Schneider. Despite the favoritism, Dan never planned on giving Amanda her own show because he claims he never wanted to be on children's television. He initially created and helped produce a series called Guys Like Us for the United Paramount Network at their primetime 8 p.m. slot. Guys Like Us revolves around two young men, Sean Barker and Jared Harris. The pair are forced to look after Jared's 6-year-old brother Maestro, who comes to live with them after Jared's father accepts a job opportunity overseas.
Why don't you go wash your hands?
They're clean.
Well, then go wash your feet.
Dan's sitcom designed for adults was an utter failure as he was not funny nor creative enough to keep adults entertained. It was canceled after one season due to abysmal ratings, so he shifted his focus to creating a show around Amanda. The Amanda Show was a sketch comedy television program that had a very similar look, feel, and comedic style as All That and Kenan and Kel. Schneider struck gold again. The Amanda Show became the highest rated live-action television program on Nickelodeon during its run. Amanda portrayed various characters that would become iconic, such as Judge Trudy, Crazy Courtney, and Amanda's obsessive fan, Penelope Taint.
My name is Penelope Taint. I'm Amanda's #1 fan, please.
And it took us 20 years to realize that her last name was a sexual innuendo.
Yeah, I was thinking that in my head. I'm like, ain't a taint a spot some guys, not me, not TTF, likes licked? Definitely not me. I'm just saying, like, that's the thing right in between the... where the taint? Hold up, I might be tripping. Ain't the taint the gooch, really? Like, the gooch and the taint is the same thing? Or am I tripping? Because, like, you got to lift up the balls, and that's the taint right between the butt crack. Hole and the balls, the little spot right there. That little joint right there. That's the taint, right? Or am I tripping? Y'all let me know.
People also think that her catchphrase, Amanda Please, was built off the phrase, a man to please, which would be such a deep, detailed level of innuendo that it's kind of hard to believe. However, as this video goes on, it just seems more and more possible. People today also believe that her sketch called Amanda's Jacuzzi may have been inappropriate since the whole concept was her as a 13-year-old interviewing mostly grown men in a hot tub. And of course, another foot joke.
Was it also true that you can put both of your feet inside your mouth at the same time?
I don't know. No.
Even Dan decided to jump in the jacuzzi with Amanda.
Hi, welcome to my jacuzzi. Today my special guest is the executive producer of The Amanda Show, Dan Schneider.
Hi.
Now, you're the executive producer of the show.
Yes, I'm the executive producer and the head writer.
People believe Dan was almost bragging by creating lightly sexual conduct into his kids' shows, like the Spitballer 5000, which was a phallic object that the kids had to blow into to launch a giant spitball at someone. Behind-the-scenes footage indicates that Dan and Amanda were very close, which is why it was shocking that The Amanda Show abruptly ended in 2002, just 3 years after it aired on Nickelodeon. In an interview with The Times, Bynes explained that she decided to leave for other opportunities. "I was having fun, but at 15, you don't want to be doing what you did when you were 12. Schneider also commented on her exit with, "I've seen kids in her position experiment with drugs and be too promiscuous, but Amanda has avoided all of that. My wife, who knows her, says she's almost like Marsha Brady in that she's so clean-cut and wholesome." This quote seems characteristically odd from Dan, like she was just talking about transitioning to more mature roles like her sitcom What I Like About You, and he had to bring up drugs.
Bro, what happened to him? Y'all remember he was in this nigga was in a lot of shows. I forgot his name. Oh my God, I forgot his name. If y'all can remember his name, put it in the comments. What is his name? All right, let's keep going.
And sex for some reason. Many years later, cast members would come out and speak about how they perceived Amanda behind the scenes. Actress Chelsea Brummett, who co-starred on all that, recalled, "She was closed off to everyone. You'd ask her a question and she'd give you a quick answer to end the conversation. She was always defiant with her dad, but she tried to hide things from her dad. She always seemed like she was trying to hide things. They would butt heads." This recountment does line up with the timeline of 2003, where Amanda sought to be emancipated from her parents at just 17 years old. In June of 2003, Amanda's agent, manager, and lawyer were all abruptly fired by her parents. The young star, now 17, was seeking legal emancipation from her parents, who were furious when they discovered that the reps had concealed this fact from them. Unfortunately, Amanda was not able to successfully get emancipated. During this rough patch in her life, Bynes reportedly leaned on Schneider and his wife, Lisa Lillian, for support. "She was spending a lot of time with us," said Lillian, "but she never left her family's house." This direct quote from Dan's wife is strong evidence that Dan and Amanda were close off set. Amanda has spoken out very strongly against her father and maybe at the time looked at Schneider as a replacement father figure. Dan also recently recounted a night where Amanda ran away from home.
One night, it was very late, well after midnight, 1 or 2 in the morning. Phone rang. I answered. It was Amanda. She was upset. She was in distress. She had had some conflict with her parents, I think her father, and she called me. I was immediately concerned about her safety. I called someone who I knew was fairly nearby. That person was able to go and pick her up. Then I knew she was safe. I felt better. She ended up being taken to the police.
As much as people blame Dan...
What else happened? That's a little weird though. I'm sorry. Like at the age I am at right now, I can only imagine when I'm at his age. Bro, you got a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old calling you in the middle of the night. Like I guess it's, I don't know. Maybe we was just all raised different, but like, as if it ain't family, bro, I don't want no 16-year-old calling my phone in the middle of it. I don't care what's going on. Call the police if something going on. Why you got little girls coming to stay at your house? You and your wife letting little girls stay at your house that's not related to you. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not an executive producer of a Nickelodeon show. Maybe you grow to love kids a little more than a lot of us get to, you know. Like a lot of us, well, I mean, but most of y'all are kids, but at this age I'm at right now, at 28 years old, ain't no 17-year-old, ain't no 16-year-old, ain't no 15-year-old, ain't no 12-year-old. I just skipped like 2 ages, but cool. Calling me at 8, 9, 10 at night, talking about I'm running away. Bitch, I'm calling the police. You not coming to my house. I don't know. Maybe I might just be
and for the down
tripping. Oops. Come on. Go back into full screen, dickhead.
Amanda's career, or claim that he had suspicious involvement that's deeper and more inappropriate. Throughout Amanda's whole life and numerous public spirals, she never blamed or accused Dan Schneider of anything. All of her anger and horrible accusations were towards her biological father. However, the cloud of mystery and potentially inappropriate behavior surrounding Amanda, as well as her obviously broken family life, seemed to be a common gray area Dan found himself in with his stars. Over the years, some of the most prominent stars like Jamie Lynn Spears, Jeanette McCurdy, and Ariana Grande all had absent fathers. On one hand, you can blame the parents. On another, you could look at Dan as a predatory opportunist. Or maybe it's a little bit of both. But there was a real convicted predator who worked underneath Dan Schneider. Jason Handy, a production assistant who worked on All That and The Amanda Show, exchanged email addresses and phone numbers with parents and kids who thought he was a friendly and helpful presence on set. You thought, oh, I could be friends with this person, said MJ, the mother of a former actress on The Amanda Show, who was identified as Brandy. The mother was mortified when she saw her 11-year-old daughter looking at a graphic email from Handy.
It was a picture of him naked, masturbating. And he said he had sent it to her because he wanted her to see that he was thinking of her.
Her daughter left the entertainment industry after that.
An 11-year-old? That is fucking absurd. I mean, any minor is absurd, but that is absurd. That's crazy. How many? Do they tell us how many years this nigga got? If it ain't a life sentence, it ain't enough.
Email. Handy was arrested in April of 2003 after law enforcement received a tip about him. When the police investigated his home, they found over 1,700 images of young girls in erotic poses, as well as 7 videos on CD files of children engaged in sexually explicit conduct. In Handy's personal diary, he wrote sentences like, "I am a pedophile full-blown." He added, "I have really been giving into my desire for little girls these past few weeks." And then he detailed his day-to-day struggle on how he could find a victim that he could sexually assault.
Instantly, DraftKings, these are...
We're not even gonna say nothing. That's just I've always wondered how it would be to be a therapist. I just want to see how some people's brains work. Like, bro, you're messaging, I don't know how old he was at that time, but you're messaging an 11-year-old, sending them pictures of you touching yourself is crazy. That is sick. I wonder if they're going to tell us how many years he got.
2004, Handy was sentenced to 6 years in prison after being convicted on 2 felony counts, one of lewd acts on a child and one of distributing sexually explicit material by email, as well as on a misdemeanor charge related to sexual exploitation of a child. Many of you are probably thinking 6 years is not enough. And surprise, surprise, he got out and in 2014 committed 2 other felony sex offender violations with a child. Allegedly, Handy's case prompted Nickelodeon to toughen its background checks for all employees, trying to prevent this from happening again. Yet somehow, this was not even close to the last time a pedophile would infiltrate Nickelodeon's network. Actor Drake Bell formed a bond with the dialogue coach Brian Peck during the 2nd season of The Amanda Show. Peck, who has no relation to Drake's co-star Josh Peck, would invite Drake to his house for acting lessons. These lessons were supervised by Drake's father, Joe, who was told that Brian Peck was a skilled coach who would help Drake secure more acting opportunities. However, over time, Joe became uncomfortable with their relationship.
And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian, and just touch Drake. You know, do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. And the thing is, this is in front of people.
Joe expressed his concerns.
This is Drake's father? I don't know if I'm tripping. This is Drake's father, right? The fuck didn't you tell him to get out the room for? I wish a nigga would be in the room with my son and he getting dressed or something. Boy, I'm gonna beat the skin off you. Oh, God. Boy, if you don't get your freaky ass up out of this room, let my son change his kid. I don't give a fuck if he 2. I don't give a fuck if he 20. I'm beating the skin off a nigga. You go. Go. Why are you in the room with this boy? No. See, like, if this is Drake's father, that's wild. Like, fuck is you seeing things? Nigga, I would have been saying things. Niggas be getting the goofy beat out of their ass. That's just weird. I don't know. I believe that's what he said, though. He said this was Jake's father, right?
However, over time, Joe became uncomfortable with their relationship.
And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian, and just touch Drake. You know, do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. And the thing is, this is in front of people.
Joe expressed his concerns with production personnel and said he was uncomfortable with Brian, only to be called homophobic because of Brian's sexual orientation. Therefore, Joe backed off. Once this got back to Brian, he manipulated Drake into severing ties with his father/manager, suggesting that Joe was sabotaging Drake's career. Peck subsequently integrated himself into multiple areas of Belle's life and became a father figure for the young actor. Eventually, Peck convinces Drake's mother to let him stay at his house during auditions. These predators entice the children with fame and fortune, convince them that,
like, you can't blame, like, you have to put some blame on the fucking parents. My son, 14, I'm finna let him stay at a 30-year-old house? No, nigga, I'll make sure he make it to auditions, though. You want him at an audition? What time? Oh, it's 5 a.m.? Bet. We gonna be there at 5 a.m. I'll drop him off where there's a whole bunch of people around. Hope y'all ain't just hear me fart. We good. I'll drop him off at 5 a.m. Or I'll be there at 5 a.m. And we both, we'll both be there and he can do his auditions. Fuck is he staying at a 30-year-old house for? He's 14. He's 13. No. Never.
But their parents are trying to hold them back, then totally isolate them and do who knows what behind closed doors. It's likely that all the kids who made it out unscathed were because of parents who stepped in and removed their child from the situation before it was too late. However, the more popular the actor was, such as Drake Bell, the more difficult it became to remove them from the industry. Sadly, with Brian Peck and Drake Bell, we do know what happened behind closed doors. When Drake slept on Brian's couch, the sexual assault began.
I was sleeping on the couch where I would usually sleep, and I woke up to him. I just opened my eyes. I woke up and he was sexually assaulting me. Why don't you think of the worst stuff that someone can do to somebody as a sexual assault? And that'll answer your question.
Drake wouldn't tell anyone for several months. The abuse persisted until Drake began spending more time at a girlfriend's house. One day, when he was supposed to meet with Brian, Drake said he did not want to hang out. Brian then started calling his phone nonstop. When Drake failed to answer, Brian obsessively started calling his girlfriend's house, which is when the girlfriend's mother suspected something was wrong and took Drake to her family therapist. He later detailed the abuse to his own mother, who called the police. I had to be excruciatingly detailed about every single thing and time that it had happened with two absolute strangers. The worst part was I had to make a phone call to Brian and get him to admit to what he'd done. The police monitored a wired phone call with Brian, who broke into a full-on confession that led to his arrest. The investigation was conducted privately, and Bell remained unidentified to the public for several years due to his age at that time. Drake did tell Dan Schneider about this situation right before the trial.
And when Drake and I talked and he told me what had happened, I was more devastated by that than anything that ever happened to me in my career thus far.
Shut up, you sick bitch. Oh, my bad. I shouldn't. Bro, that shit is just different. Motherfucker acting like he innocent too. You was over there. Let's just keep going.
And I told him, I'm here for you. What do you need?
I bet you were.
A lovely woman who I stay in contact with this day. She came to me at the time and she said, Dan, I'm not good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech for the judge? And I said, of course. And I did.
During Brian Peck's trial, numerous prominent figures in the entertainment industry wrote letters of support vouching for his character, including James Marsden, Taran Killam, Growing Pains star Alan Thicke, Boy Meets World actors Will Friedle and Ryder Strong, among others. Some of these figures, including Friedle and Strong, have since expressed their regret over writing the letters and stated that they were manipulated by Peck's misinformation. Brian Peck was convicted of child molestation in 2004, pleading no contest to a charge of oral copulation with a minor under 16. 2013 in a charge of performing a lewd act with a 14 or 15-year-old. He spent only 16 months in prison and was mandated to register as a sex offender. And if you are surprised at that abysmally low sentencing, Peck got out and secured a job working for Disney's The Suite Life of Zack and Cody in 2006, where he voiced London Tipton's talking mirror for 3 episodes. The Disney Channel hired a registered sex offender. Despite these horrible circumstances, Drake remained in the industry and would go on to star alongside Josh Peck in their legendary buddy comedy, Drake and Josh, which again caused the network's ratings to explode to new heights. The series premiere was watched by 3.2 million viewers, the network's highest rated series premiere in nearly 10 years. Drake and Josh episodes regularly saw viewership upwards of 5, 6, 7 million. As of 2006,
Bro, y'all wasn't around for the Drake and Josh era, but man, that was some of my favorite. Drake and Josh, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Wizard of Waverly Place, bro, there are so many. Sweet Life on Deck, Romeo Show, Jordan Show. Bro, there were so many good shows at this time. I didn't even know half of these characters or these people were going through it. They were real life going through it, getting molested and SA'd and whew.
The show ranked consistently among the 10 most watched cable shows across all of television, and you could just add Zoe 101 to the list of Dan's dominant programs, which saw an average of 3 million viewers per episode. It was on the set of Zoe 101 where even more photos emerged of Dan getting a little too comfortable with the cast, particularly Erin Sanders, who was merely a child being held and coddled on Dan's lap. You can also see this photo where Dan's hand is resting on the child's lower back. Zoe 101 also had 34 different kissing scenes across its 4 seasons. While this may not seem that strange for a teen drama show, it did often lead to underage female actresses kissing over 18-year-old males. Brando Eaton was 20 years old and Victoria Justice was 14. Victoria at this time also had to kiss Jaron Vosberg, who was 18. And get this, 12-year-old Jamie Lynn Spears had to kiss 22-year-old Justin Timberlake on the set of All That, and Justin dated Britney Spears, which is Jamie's sister, 3 years earlier. Also, this Zoe 101 scene resurfaced recently, and many believe it to be a sexual innuendo. Spears' co-star, Alexa Nicolas, recalled Dan making a crew member squirt the syringe of goo at Spears over and over again. It's also important to remember that all of the information that you now know from this video was totally unknown by the public at the time. All the allegations and predatory behavior was all silenced before.
Yeah, I think it's just because we're watching this video, it just looks a lot crazier. Because I was just about to say, how did nobody notice this? But oh, nigga looked like he looked like one of them. He looked like one of them. That's different. That is different.
Before they could ever reach headlines. Barely any media outlets were reporting on why pedophiles were allowed to work on set. Survivors were scared to speak their truth, and even if they wanted to, they would have to go through a publicist or rely on a potentially corrupt media outlet to tell their story the right way. All anyone saw was the final product on television, so we assumed everything was consensual and safe and approved by people who had the best interests of the children in mind. Even if the network was suspicious of Dan and his production staff, which they weren't, they were going to do anything and everything to protect his reputation because Nickelodeon was red hot. At this point, they had been the #1 network in viewers aged 2 to 11 for over a decade. They were raking in millions of viewers and billions of dollars. Dan had more power than ever and was about to unleash all of his sick fantasies through iCarly. The basic premise of iCarly was that Carly Shay, played by previous
Man, iCarly was one of my favorite shows. I loved iCarly. That was one of my favorite shows.
Drake and Josh co-star Miranda Cosgrove and her friends Sam and Freddie, played by Jeanette McCurdy and Nathan Kress, produce a web show from Carly's older brother's apartment. The show resonated with the real-world rise of online content creation and the growing influence of social media platforms like YouTube during the 2000s. The show within a show encouraged fan interaction by incorporating segments that invited viewers to participate in the show's interactive elements. Additionally, the characters often responded to fan mail and viewer submissions on their web show, further blurring the lines between fiction and reality. Like, take a look at this time they called a 12-year-old fan.
Do you have any questions for Sydney?
I follow your Twitters.
How old are you?
I'm 12.
No way, I just turned 16.
You're 12?
Yes.
I'm like a little over double that.
Yeah, Jerry's all old. So what do you like about iCarly?
I love it. It's really funny.
Anything else you want to know about iCarly or any questions or anything?
No.
No? You're all set?
Nope.
Thank you.
I know what I know.
Would you like us to get on a plane and come to your house?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's not going to happen.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Dan himself often communicated directly with fans on his blog, danwarp.blogspot.com, where he gave behind-the-scenes information and did Q&As. He also started giving tons of behind-the-scenes clips to his Dan Warp YouTube channel, giving us insight on the cast's uncomfortability around him.
What? It wouldn't be a video from iCarly if I didn't do this to you. I don't know. Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
I don't know.
What's going on? What are you wearing today? Who did your outfit?
I did
I've had too much caffeine.
Don't do anything with this footage. Please, it's so lame.
Did you know that the average adult American male has 18 hairs on each of his toes?
This is what happens when it gets late.
Yeah, seriously. Let us go home, Dan.
We would be home if you had gotten some of your lines right earlier in the day, right? Am I right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Who's embarrassed now? Who's embarrassed? No. What are you doing?
I like when he's doing that. Is he hitting him in his genitals? I'm confused. I don't know what's going on when he keeps doing that. Is he hitting him? Or like, it's not really showing much.
I'm scared.
This will revolutionize your...
I need to get me a manscaper. This is probably not the best time to bring that up while we're watching this, but I do want a manscape.
Susie May Page wants to know. Yeah, if you could fill a pool with... Get out of here.
Sorry.
Wants to know if you could fill a pool with anything you like and swim in it, what would it be and why?
Confetti, because it's a celebration in the pool.
Okay, that makes no sense.
Okay.
Miranda,
Pineapple juice.
what? I didn't ask the question.
Oh, sorry. Well, I heard. I was thinking this whole time.
Okay, the question is, if you wanted me to hit you with a bottle of something, what would it be? Pineapple juice? Okay, here comes. This is why I'm in Hollywood.
Yeah, eat your cereal, kids.
Did she say nice things about me? Because I will tase her if necessary.
Uh-oh.
I have the taser. We haven't had to use it in a long time.
I said lots of nice things.
No, I said nice things about you too.
Oh.
That's gonna get on TV. That's gonna get on TV.
In these clips, you can get a glimpse of Dan's unpredictability. I mean, just look at how Miranda steps away from Dan as he proceeds to make his way around her back. And
yeah, she does look uncomfortable as fuck. Like, ugh. And then he just kissed that nigga right on his cheek. That boy, I would have... weave. Bop, bop. Oh, he would have got hit with the meanest. Oh, yeah! Well, I would have fucked this shit up.
Hugs her from behind as she stands awkwardly still. As you can see, while Dan is shoving a camera in these actors' faces, they are often confused. Is he joking? Is he angry? Is he creepy? Is he going to touch them or grab them? They look extremely uncertain around him as he talks to them like a classic jester. But iCarly was a massive success for the network throughout its 6 seasons from 2007 to 2012. The pilot episode debuted on Nickelodeon to an audience of 4.1 million, followed by the second episode on the same day with 3.9 million viewers. The show was nominated for an Emmy Award for Outstanding Children's Program 5 times, and averaged 4.6 million viewers throughout its time on Nickelodeon. Somehow, Dan managed to outdo Drake and Josh. But looking back on the show, many of the jokes and innuendos were more blatant than we remember.
How long?
3.2 seconds.
Yeah! That's the longest it's ever taken you to beat me.
Or how about the sack, which was Dan making fun of the Snuggie.
You're just sitting on your couch, trying to polish your bowling ball, but your blanket keeps flying off your body.
Oh, my blanket keeps flying off my body.
Like, are we reading into it too much, or is polishing your ball while advertising the sack not strategic? They mentioned that the sack comes in 4 different colors.
The sack comes in rash red, mucus green, pus yellow, or blue.
His shows are always displaying close-ups of feet and putting cast members in predicaments where they have to touch each other's feet. Nobody thinks feet are this funny, especially not for them to be such a recurring bit in a television show. Many have pointed out that the Nickelodeon logo at one point was a foot, suggesting that Dan's influence was so strong he got them to change their logo momentarily to his fetish. I even found something on his blog that was particularly interesting. He had a segment called Fun Facts on his blog where he would go through an iCarly script and talk about tiny little details and why they matter. Like this one where he refers to Sam's necklace and how it's made of the same plastic that the antique radios that he collects are made out of. I mention this because it proves that there are no coincidences with what you see on screen. No matter how small or insignificant it may seem, Dan put it there on purpose. In this same episode, which is called I Date a Bad Boy, Dan says, scenes begin with Carly and Sam cutting a boy's hair. We see the first of 2 penny tees in this 1-hour episode. This one on Sam says, noodle booty. What does noodle booty mean? Why did Dan specifically point out her shirt and want us to know what it says? In another blog post, he specifically points out one of his intentionally inappropriate jokes. One where he wrote a joke where an adult woman sexualizes 17-year-old Nathan Kress. Dan writes, on the first few takes when Jane said her line, hey, those pants fit you real good, she was looking at the front of his pants. I had the director step in quietly and tell her that, because this is for Nickelodeon, we'd prefer she look at the back of his pants on that line. Winky face. I guess Dan thinks that complimenting a young boy's butt is somehow more appropriate. Additionally, take a look at this 2010 blog post where he discusses adults who watch iCarly. He writes, there are around 150 people who work on iCarly, and none of us approach it like we're making a kids show. We make iCarly no differently than if we were writing and producing a primetime half-hour comedy for NBC, CBS, or any one of the major broadcast networks. This statement directly contradicts what he said while addressing the Quiet on Set documentary.
Some people think that some of those jokes are inappropriate for children. What do you think of that?
Every one of those jokes was written for a kid audience because kids thought they were funny and only funny.
So Dan, are the jokes for adults, like you said 10 years ago on your blog, or are they for kids, like you just said recently when the pressure is at an all-time high? It was also...
All right, right here we gonna stop, and I'm gonna put up a part 2. We 50 minutes in, we only got like 17 minutes left, so I'm gonna put up a part 2 right now. I just don't want this to crash and then I lose my whole recording, so I'll be right back, y'all.